Example number 12. If the secant of alpha is negative 5 over 3, and alpha is between pi and 3 pi over 2, then find the exact value of each of the following. Sine of alpha over 2, cosine of alpha over 2, and tangent of alpha over 2. Well, first, we need to figure out where alpha over 2 is. We know where alpha is. Let's see where alpha over 2 is. So if I've got alpha bigger than pi, but less than 3 pi over 2, I can divide each part of this inequality by 2 to figure out where alpha over 2 is. Alpha over 2 is going to be between pi over 2 and 3 pi over 4. I got 3 pi over 2 divided by 2 is 3 pi over 2 times a half, and that's where I got the 3 pi over 4. So let's figure out what our signs are going to be. If alpha over 2 is between pi over 2 and 3 pi over 4, it's going to be in the second quadrant. So second quadrant, we have cosine negative, sine positive, tangent negative. So we'll know which sign to use on our formula. So the sine of alpha over 2 has the formula, and it's going to be positive 1 minus the cosine of alpha over 2. Now we have to go back and look at alpha. Alpha has a secant of negative 5 over 3, and that's going to be the reciprocal of the cosine. So the cosine of alpha is negative 3 over 5. So I can go ahead and fill in this formula as the square root of 1 minus negative 3 over 5, all divided by 2. So that's going to be the square root, 5 over 5, plus 3 over 5, and all of that inside the square root is over 2. So that's the square root of 8/5 all over 2. And when you divide by 2, you have to multiply times 1/2. So I've got 8/5 times 1/2. I'm going to divide my 2 into my 8 and leave a 4. So this is going to be, it's going to be the square root of 4/5. Well, that's the square root of 4 over the square root of 5, which is 2 over the square root of 5. I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by the square root of 5, and we get 2 square root of 5 over 5. And so that is for our sine of alpha over 2. 2 square root of 5 over 5. Now the formula for cosine of alpha over 2. And remember, this time our cosine is going to be negative. So we're going to use the negative of the square root of 1 plus the cosine of alpha over 2. So that's going to be negative 1 plus, and we know that's negative 3/5. That's the cosine of alpha. We already figured that out. And that 2 is in that square root 2. So I'm going to get my common denominator. 5 over 5 minus 3 over 5. And all of that's divided by 2. So it's the negative square root of 2/5 over 2. When you divide, you have to flip. So that's 2/5 times 1/2. So that's negative square root of 1/5, because the 2's are factors that reduce to 1. And then I can take the square root of 1, and that's going to give me negative 1 over the square root of 5, which we're going to rationalize by multiplying by the square root of 5 over the square root of 5. And that will give me a final answer of negative square root of 5 over 5. So our final answer for cosine is negative square root of 5 over 5. Now we'll do the tangent of alpha over 2. Now remember, since the sine is positive and the cosine is negative, we're going to have to use the negative formula for the tangent of alpha over 2. It is 1 minus the cosine of alpha over 1 plus the cosine of alpha. So that's going to give us a negative square root of 1 minus negative 3/5 over 1 plus negative 3/5. Well, that numerator I'm going to end up adding, because of the double negative, 5 over 5 plus 3 over 5. In the denominator, 5 over 5 minus 3 over 5. That will give me a negative square root of 8/5 over 2/5. And those 5's will cancel out if you invert and multiply. So this is just going to be the negative square root of 8 over 2, which is the negative square root of 4, or minus 2. So my final answer for the tangent of alpha over 2 is minus 2.